Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about how to heal anxious attachment. I made another video about healing dismissive avoidant attachment, and that was a little bit more aimed at my own experiences. This one will not be so experience based because I did not have this attachment style, but I still feel like it's important. But anyone who has dealt with this attachment style, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear it. So, the very first one is knowing your limits. I think this is important in general. Change takes time. Don't be hard on yourself for anxious behaviors or overthinking, such as like needing reassurance or crashing out, whatever it is. Be gentle with yourself because the only person you really have at the end of the day is yourself. And beating yourself up emotionally over your mistakes is not going to help. It really isn't. You need to have your back. And you're the only person who sees how hard you're working and the effort that you make. And so encourage yourself, be kind to yourself. The next one is socializing more. Anxious folks don't struggle with this nearly as much as dismissive avoidance, but I think all attachment styles, even secure individuals, can learn from other people by just socializing more. It doesn't mean using that maladaptively, but I feel like engaging with healthy individuals and having diverse experiences can help you understand that happiness exists in many forms. The next one is getting comfortable with uncertainty. Embrace that life is unpredictable. Trust yourself and allow your situation to unfold as it is and readjust as needed. That doesn't mean you have to accept everything that comes your way. All that it means is give it a little bit of time before you communicate something or process something or experience something fully. Give it time to unfold. The next one is show weakness. Every person who has an insecure attachment has a fear of weakness to some extent, and it shows up and presents differently. How I notice with anxious individuals is a lot of times they want to say they're secure, or a lot of people might say, I'm secure leaning anxious, which secure folks don't tend to lean. So if you are secure leaning anxious, you're probably an anxious preoccupied that leans more, you're learning to heal, you're more secure. But you probably start a little bit anxious preoccupied. I'm not saying secure people don't feel anxiety, but they do not tend to relate fully to anxious attachment, at least not much at all, honestly. Maybe a little bit, but not to the point where they relate in relational dynamics typically. And so it's okay to admit that you have insecurities and anxious feelings. Acknowledging your mistakes without fear and knowing what you need to fix is helpful. I think the reason why a lot of anxious folks don't like admitting they're anxious attached is because there's a negative stigma to people who are anxiously attached, particularly like the words like needy or too much or too emotional, or is sensitive one of them? I think sensitive is one of them. Whatever it is, there's like a negative stigma, and it's hard to admit that that's what you're struggling with. But like I had mentioned, the only person who has your back is yourself. So at the end of the day, who cares what people think to such an extent? You have to heal yourself, because having anxious attachment can really affect your life and can hurt you by being in relationships with people that don't treat you right, or you get anxious over things that might not necessarily be something to worry about. And so you're just sabotaging your relationships. The next one is you need to ask for what you need. Understand and articulate your needs in a relationship without shame. The next one is be flexible. This one's tricky for all insecure attachment styles, okay? But I feel like with anxious folks, the reason they're afraid of being flexible is because they feel like if they adapt their needs or negotiate, allow for negotiation in relationships, they will not get their needs met ever. Black and white type of thinking. And so this will challenge that fear, recognize growth in yourself and your partner, and be more comfortable negotiating and adapting. But don't over negotiate or over adapt either. I think it goes one way or the other. Being flexible in all directions and speaking up if things feel like it's too much. It's a process for everybody involved, okay? Making your own decisions is really important. Build confidence through independent decision making rather than relying on others' opinions. I think sometimes anxious folks, they can still make their own opinion, but they like to get reassurance or ask people for their opinions without their own. Look at your own opinion. I promise you there are some things that you know about yourself or your lifestyle that nobody else has the answer to. I believe that, and I think that it's important that you believe that about yourself too. The next one is you need to limit, or if you can, diminish negative self-talk. I understand that some people believe there is some benefit to negative self-talk, possibly, but please use it very sparingly because it's harmful to not acknowledge those positive traits, and you're actually making your inner dialogue against you instead of looking at the reality. So the picture of your life becomes more negative. The next one is take criticism well. A lot of people who have insecure attachment don't like criticism. Accepting feedback is better for growth and for communication, and it's going to help with your relationship. The next one is don't take things personally. Understand that reactions from others often reflect their own experiences and biases, not you. And if it has to do with you, you already said you're going to take criticism well, so it's going to be okay. The next one is stand up for yourself. Sometimes people take advantage of other people, and it's very common. It's very, very, very important that you advocate for yourself. Even if no one hears you, even if they're not going to change and you're still going to stay in that experience, fine, but you're the one, you said it. And sometimes that's enough depending on your situation. Go slow and gentle with yourself. You don't have to break up with somebody because they're mistreating you. Maybe you're not ready for that, or maybe you never will be, or maybe you trust they're going to change. Fine. I appreciate that, but still stand up for yourself. Hey, I don't appreciate that. I'm just letting you know. Anything like that. The next one is trusting yourself. Trust your feelings. You know you're feeling best. Even if you're wrong, you will learn and figure it out. It's okay. Don't let others define them for you. The next one is regulating your emotions. Find a healthy way to manage your anxiety instead of letting them build up and create behaviors that you don't want. The next one is learn to be alone sometimes. Embrace solitude to understand yourself better and develop independence. The 15th one is avoid ultimatums. Sometimes ultimatums, the reason why people who are anxious, preoccupied use them is because they don't like uncertainty. And an ultimatum makes them feel certain. So it's like, I'm uncomfortable with this uncertain feeling that I'm having, let's just say, an anxious, preoccupied person. And they're thinking, okay, if I say let's break up, that's a certainty. And that feels better temporarily. But what happens is it actually leads to unhealthy outcomes instead of what you really want. Maybe you don't want to break up. You just want to be heard. Maybe you want more attention, whatever it is, affection. Maybe you want more bedroom intimacy, whatever it is. And you're trying to communicate that. It's not happening. And so you're like, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to break up. You're doing that it's gaining control of the situation, but that's not the only thing. You want to gain control of that feeling of uncertainty, really. And part of healing anxious attachment is to get comfortable with uncertainty. And so really try to avoid ultimatums. There are other ways to communicate your feelings. The next one is believe what others tell you until there's evidence otherwise. Trust what your partner shares about you, about their intentions, about their feelings, about their past, and work towards taking some time to process what people say instead of making a judgment right away. Let's say your partner was in a marriage for 5 years and they divorced and they said they never want to get married again and they're with you for 6 years and you guys are not married, and you make this assumption it's because they don't love you. And they're telling you it has nothing to do with that. You're the person I love the most. I'm just afraid to get married again because that divorce cost me a lot. They told you the reason. Don't take that and turn it into something else. Believe what they're telling you. Whether you want to stay or not, that's up to you, but they're not lying to you. But you want to spin it and say, no, secretly it means they love their ex more. They're a different person than they were with their ex, and their ex traumatized them. You didn't. Likely they love you more, like they said, right? And the last one is don't fear hurt. Every insecure attachment style, every person needs to accept that hurt is part of life. In relationships, avoiding pain stops you from fully engaging in experiences. And that's also why a lot of anxious folks are afraid of uncertainty, because they're afraid to be hurt. And I get that. So we're going to summarize and we'll wrap it up, okay? Know your limits, socialize more, get comfortable with uncertainty, show weaknesses, ask for what you need, be flexible, make your own decisions, limit negative self-talk, take criticism well, don't take things personally, stand up for yourself, trust yourself, regulate your emotions, be alone sometimes, really important, avoid ultimatums, believe what others tell you, and don't fear hurt. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.